GDKO Round 3 was the much anticipated Dev vs Dev knockout round. In order to reach Round 4, the semi-finals, you'd need to rank higher than another Dev you were secretly paired against. No longer would a top 50% ranking guarantee you safe passage. Oh no, as Chris Rea rightly stated, this is the road to hell. From those who qualified in Round 2, 22 devs have managed to submit an entry to the round. Sadly, both Round 2 wildcards failed to submit and are therefore eliminated from the competition. But don't worry, soon some of you will be joining them. The task for Round 3 was to recreate the classic 1988 Sega game, Gain Ground. Devs could choose to recreate this true to the original or take the game in a new direction, adding their own twists. They would, however, need to keep the core elements of the original in place. In Gain Ground, you have to get a group of various characters to the exit on each level. You can complete a level by either killing all the enemies or get every character to the exit. If you die, you'll be captured and remain on the screen for the next character to collect and save. But if that character dies too, the first character will be lost. The game ends when all playable characters are dead. Well, let's see what our competitors made of it all. At the start of the round, 6 out of the top 7 seeds still remained in the competition, but with fresh competition emerging, things are starting to get hot in the kitchen. And I, for one, wouldn't want to be a chef. The top 2 ranked games from the round will avoid pairing and automatically progress to the semi-finals. The rest of the games will be ranked using the raw score from itch to avoid rating penalties. In second place and safe from pairing is Frib, with his game Definitely No Ground Gained, a true to the original remake, except in 3D. Everything from the original is here, the level design, the characters, and the individual weapon loadouts, and even the soundtrack. The characters are also wonderfully well created in 3D form with identical colour palettes. The game also plays well and mirrors the same difficulty curve and balancing as the original. A really well made game and truly worthy of a semi-final spot. Proving that you can literally take the brief of classic recreate in any direction you choose is Feature Creep with his game Chrono Crisis. Travel back to different periods of time and with the help of your ancestors, blast those monsters into another dimension. This game is dripping with juice, from the heart-pounding soundtrack to the artwork. Feature Creep also does well to keep the core elements of the original intact, while also adding a whole bunch of new gameplay ideas. Clear stages by eliminating all the enemies, rescue fallen characters to unlock new eras, all with unique weapon loadouts and bags of personality. Spooky Man chose to follow the theme of his previous 2 entries to GDKO and take the concept of Gain Ground into a cyber future. In Convergent Survival, you start with 1 playable character and have to complete levels fraught with danger. From the get-go, you'll meet characters and discover that you're intertwined within a story grander than the vibrant art style and more heart-pounding than the game's soundtrack. Navigate rooms and unlock characters in this top-down strategic shooter that'll have you tapping your feet to the beat while you try to save all of your fallen comrades. Spooky Man secured a respectable 12th place, meaning that top seed Josh will need 11th or better to avoid facing elimination. Like Spooky Man, Josh also opted to take the original game and take it in a new direction, and again with a top-down strategic shooting and melee combat feel, all wrapped up in a bullet hell style game. The core elements from the original are wrapped up nicely within the gameplay. You'll need to progress through levels collecting fallen characters, all with different abilities. Your character will change every 10 seconds, which means you'll have to change your gameplay style regularly to beat the level. As you play, you'll be able to level up your characters, increasing fire rates, range and damage, which is extremely satisfying. In order to win, you'll need to either destroy all the enemies or reach the exit, just like the original. Once all your characters have been captured, the game is over. Josh takes 3rd place in the raw scores for his efforts, meaning he'll be progressing to the semi-finals and leaves Spooky Man in need of a wildcard to progress. Potato Ratata has made a charming little game, and like previous devs, has decided to continue the theme of previous entries. Choose from one of 4 characters, each with a different weapon, and reach the exit. Like the original, you can destroy all the enemies, or reach the exit with all characters to progress the game. The pixel art is fantastic, and the weapons feel very satisfying to use, especially the laser ray, which featured in a previous game from Potato Ratata. The fun is wrapped up with the inclusion of a leaderboard, making Retro Raiders' 6th place finish very well deserved indeed. Top seed Dev Pirates has given us another much anticipated helping of Kronkle's Sideshow. The latest installment, Kronkle's Clash, pits Violet in a search for her captured father. Playthrough levels littered with snakes, skeletons and other devious enemies, collecting captured allies along the way. Like the original, each new character brings with it some new attacks that you can unleash against the evil ahead. If you lose a character, you'll need to collect them and reach the exit without dying to get them back. A great take on the original, all wrapped up with a little Kronkle's magic. In a cruel twist of fate, just one place separates these two, and with a 7th place finish, it's top seed Dev Pirates and his game Kronkle Clash that'll be in the hands of guest judge Manisha. Is this the last installment of the Sideshow skeleton? We'll find out later in the video. Nitromuers hasn't ranked outside the top 10 in either of the previous rounds, but is his take good enough to send him to the semis? With gameplay centered around planting and harvesting grain, there wasn't much in the way of the original mechanics. The title was perhaps the closest thing linking it back to the 1988 classic. With that said, what was done well, and the chilled out vibes of planting and harvesting has definitely resonated with some of the other devs. Will it be enough to progress? With a 17th place finish, Pasonga will need to avoid the bottom 5 to gain ground towards the semi-final. Pasonga's kept a lot of the core elements from the original in his game, Fluffy Friend's Revenge. Choose from a selection of characters and reach the exit. Each character has its own special attacks, which you can use to stun the enemies. If you get close enough, you can also kick them out of the way, which is a fun touch. Just make sure you avoid their line of sight, or your character will be captured and you'll need to rescue them. Once all your characters have been captured, just like the original, the game is over. Sadly for Pasonga, his game is over unless selected as Manisha's wildcard, as a 20th place finish isn't enough to stop Nitromuers harvesting a semi-final spot. Brainfart marches into the classic Recreate round off of a 13th and a 24th place finish in the previous 2 rounds, and has opted for the risky approach in creating a game that's a far reach from the round task of recreating Gain Ground. In Colour the Canvas, you have to shoot enemies to earn money. As the enemies are destroyed, they'll leave behind paint splashes. The more you destroy, the more colourful the canvas. Use your money to buy turrets, which will help you destroy more enemies and colour faster. Sadly, colouring wasn't the preferred activity among the other competitors, and as a result, Brainfart paints his way to a 21st place finish. Avengi did manage to submit a game to the round, but due to personal reasons has withdrawn from the competition. As Avengi withdrew his game after the voting period had ended, the pairing will remain and Brainfart will now face elimination, and will need a wildcard from Manisha to continue in the competition. Bridgie Skip hasn't managed to rank inside the top 20 so far, but can this outlier pull something out of the hat and make a late surge for the semi-final? In Glitch Ground, you have to fix a broken arcade game of Gain Ground. However, something goes wrong and multiple games glitch together. Only the ultimate gamer can fix this mess, and to do that, you'll need to play through some nicely designed, true to the original levels. The core gameplay and mechanics are evident from the start, and the story adds a nice touch to the game. The addition of new characters and a fun story and leaderboard definitely give this game a fighting chance of progression. Glitch Ground ranks 18th overall, but is it enough to squash out Waifu's mushroom-based creation? Although short, Waifu Games has packed a whole bunch of juice and cuteness into his game, My Mycelium. Play as a mushroom and make your way through various dungeons, collecting characters along the way. Once a new character is collected, you'll be able to use them on the next level. The characters each have a melee attack that is super satisfying to use. The game only has a few stages and just 3 characters, but shows some real promise for future development. Only one place separates these two, and unfortunately for Waifu Games, My Mycelium has taken 19th, meaning it's a win for Bridgie Skip on this occasion. In Paper Guardians, you play as one of a series of insects or animals trying to free your friends from poachers. Aside from the art style, this game is very true to the original, with some similarities ranging from level design to gameplay mechanics. The simplistic art style is perfectly executed and fits very well together with the sound and the UI. As feature creep has gained automatic progression, and as the pairings were done prior to the voting ending, Ting Game will now pair against the dev who draws against the other automatic winner, Frib. Top seed Sigil is back in action this round with their game Grounds of Time. Sigil has turned the top-down strategic shooter into a side-scrolling 2D platformer, while simultaneously encapsulating all the core elements from the original with an array of playable characters, each with different abilities. Shoot, blast, and wall jump your way around levels, set in different eras to save characters that have been scattered across the fabric of time. Grounds of Time ranks in at 16th place, meaning Killer Cook will need to rank 15th or better to avoid elimination. Killer Cook's game Lost in the Woods is a wonderfully eerie and atmospheric game of helping 4 characters escape from the woods. Killer Cook, like some others, has chosen to avoid a true to the original remake, opting to make something quite far removed from the original. With that said, the sound design is wonderfully simplistic and the game does a great job at keeping you interested as you try to help 4 lost characters find the solace of their cabin using only sound as your guide. As it turns out, the community voting has, by the slightest of margins, considered Killer Cook a better contender for the semis by placing it 15th and narrowly avoiding elimination. Top seed Game Favourites is no stranger to fighting it out in the Dev vs Dev round, successfully progressing in the last 2 GDKOs, but can he beat newcomer and title contender El Straw Fedora? In Crowns of Drossgard, you must battle the armies of tyrannical kings. Choose between 3 hero characters, each with a different attack style. The game shares similarities with the original in the way that lost heroes can be recollected at the end of the level. The soundtrack, as you'd expect from a Game Favourites game, is great, and the pixel art and animations are really well done, but does it tick enough boxes to be considered worthy of a classic recreate? Ranking in at 14th isn't bad, but will El Straw Fedora fancy his chances? El Straw Fedora has opted, like many, to continue developing his previous entry for this round, adapting Dung Battles into a Game Ground inspired minigame, whereby you have to get your beetles to the exit, collecting grubs along the way. Pick from different beetles with different balls and avoid getting hit by enemies. Each successful grub collected and saved can turn into future playable characters, and with an 11th place finish he's done just enough to send veteran competitor Game Favourites to the judges. Former judge, Duck on Wheels creator and 2023 winner Simon CB pits his game in round 3 against newcomer Pyrotechnical. In Animal Tracks, you have to guide your character to the exit, destroying enemies along the way. A lot of the core mechanics from the original are present here, and Simon has done a fantastic job giving the game a whole new personality, with some great attacks such as turning enemies into snowmen. The UI is really well implemented and the simple colour palette gives the whole game a 1940s cartoon appeal. With all that said, it's no surprise to see this entry ranking in at 5th. Pyrotechnical has chosen to continue his round 2 entry Stone Seeker by turning Game Ground into a first-person combat game. The core gameplay is evident from the classic, including collecting fallen characters, reaching the exit to progress, and the UI has some lovely Game Ground vibes to it. Each character you collect brings with it a new class of attacks, and animations on the skeletons are really good, making it especially fun to slice and dice them on your way to the exit. Unfortunately though, the Seeker and the Stone Chainbound ranks in at 9th, meaning elimination looms. Joseph Vowles lands in round 3 from a 6th place finish in round 2, and gives us his first game that doesn't include a duck. Take Turf is a wonderfully made reconstruction of a Game Ground, with very evident gameplay mechanics that are true to the original. Select from a roster of characters, each with varying abilities and weapons. Once you've completed your tutorial level, which outlines very well how to get the most out of your starting characters, you're ready for battle. What's great about this remake is that you can call more than one character at a time from the roster. The artwork is well made and the soundtrack goes a long way in making the playthrough fun and enjoyable. This was obviously appreciated by the remaining devs as Take Turf takes 10th, leaving Smart Magpie needing 9th or better to progress. Smart Magpie brings us a cute little game called Worms and Moles. It's a snake-style Game Ground mashup and surprisingly addictive. Simply move your worm around the screen, collecting segments of yourself, each with different buffs and debuffs, avoiding moles and returning back to your hole in as much as one piece as you can. It's a simple game with some remnants of the original, but is it enough to send Joseph to the judges? Sadly, Worms and Moles has ranked in at 22nd, meaning Joseph progresses this time, and Smart Magpie will need a wildcard from Manisha to remain in the competition. That means last up is Frib vs Halfsmore. We already know that Frib took one of the top 2 spots this round, so Halfsmore must face Ting Game in the final elimination pairing. Halfsmore has taken the original concept of gain ground and turned it into a puzzle game. In this version, you may actually need to kill your characters to enable other characters to progress levels. There are some elements recognizable from the original, such as player select and reaching the exit to progress, but was it enough in the eyes of the community voters? Halfsmore takes 8th place in this round, but it's not enough to derail Ting Game and his Paper Guardians, meaning it's Ting for the win, and Halfsmore's hopes now rest in the hands of GDKO judge Manisha. Josh Butachwatata, Nitra Muiz, Brenchi Skip, Killer Cook 93, Elstraw Fedora, Simon CB, Joseph Vowles, and Ting Game are now safe, along with 1st and 2nd place Frib and Feature Creep. Before we reveal the semi-final task, let's head over to Manisha to pick one more dev from those who face elimination that will be given another chance.
Hey everyone, it's your round 3 judge reporting for duty. I'm Manisha, and I had a wonderful time playing your games on stream that were inspired by the classic arcade game Gain Ground. Needless to say, I had never played that game before, so I definitely had some ramping up to do. It was really cool to see how you all took the idea, put your own twist on it, and made it something different. Seeing your takes on the original map seemed like a great way to capture that nostalgic feel. After playing all the entries, I have finally picked my wild card. Drumroll please. My pick this round will be Shoot, Toss, Throw. I loved how polished the game was, and it was obvious how much thought and creativity went into the puzzle design. This game made subtle references to the original game's mechanics, like unique abilities and the ability to lose a character. I thought the game design was done in a very smart and subtle way in which the developer made it their own, even if the inspiration is not blaringly obvious at first. The visuals were clean and appealing, as was the entire experience. Congratulations, Halfsmore. See you next round.
For those of you wondering, here's how the game engine tally is stacked up after round 3. 9 devs submitted using Frontrunner Unity, closely followed by the Godot crew. Construct is hanging in there with 4 devs, and 1 dev remains with GameMaker Studio. The highest ranked game using Construct and currently in line to receive 1 year free premium membership is Feature Creep with Chrono Crisis. Congratulations again to Feature Creep for winning the round. $25 of Game Dev Market credit is on its way to you with a free download key for Sprite. I'll reach out to you in the Discord on how to claim. As mentioned, the winner of the Classic Recreate round will also have the option to pick next year's Classic game if you choose not to compete. If Feature Creep would prefer to join, that honour will be passed down to the next highest ranking dev, and so on.
All my problems are nowhere to be found. I'm just sitting here, going round and round. I got my windmill and my tractor and my grains that
Only 2 top seeds remain in the competition. GDKO 2024 finalist Josh and GDKO 2023 winner Simon CB. This means that we'll be adding at least 3 more top seeds to the roster as we move into GDKO 2026. And speaking of which, the itch page is ready for you to join. So if your GDKO journey has come to an end, or if you fancy giving it a go next year, head over and sign up. Links are in the description and in the comments section. It's no easy feat reaching this part of the competition. Some fantastic devs have already fallen, top seeds will have been knocked out, and we are now down to the nitty gritty. And soon we'll see which 5 of you have what it takes to reach the final of GDKO 2025. The task for the semi-final will be to create a game with the mouse as the only input method. Secondly, I have provided a list of items, mechanics and/or game objects that featured in some of your previous GDKO submissions that you must try to include in your game. Think of it kind of like a virtual scavenger hunt. The more you include and cohesively fit together, the higher you'll be rated. You can create the assets yourself or use anything you have the right to use. The items you must try and include are a calculator, the ability to shapeshift, a dog, candy, a flower pot, a laser gun, a ghost or poltergeist, a rift or teleportation mechanic, a potion, a scarecrow, a deck of cards, a peanut, a mech suit, and a wand. You can continue developing your previous round's game if you can make it fit the task, or you can start fresh. As always, it's up to you. The voting criteria for the round will be: did the game include mouse-only controls and the required objects? Remember, the more you include, the higher your rank on this question. Were the game objects included cohesively, meaning you'll need to do more than just throw a bunch of objects on your game that have no relevance? How well polished was the game? Did the sound and audio fit the feel of the game? And was the game clear and easy to understand? That's it from me. Good luck. We'll touch base again in about a month, where we see who's made it to the final of GDKO 2025.